All right, we'll call this meeting to order, the informational meeting here Tuesday, June 28th. We will start with our committee and commission reports. Not seeing Councilmember Starr here, we'll go to the Operations Committee, which is me, but I'd like to briefly pause and acknowledge our interns here. Sorry I couldn't be in the meeting earlier, but I know you guys have been going throughout the city and getting ready to go in our program, so I hope you have a great time working in the city. A lot of the city staff are fantastic people, and you're going to learn a lot from them. So I'm encouraged that you guys are interested in being here, being at this meeting, and being a part of it. If you guys have questions for anyone up here or any of the city councilors or our staff, we're an open book, so please reach out to us and we'll answer any questions you may have. So with that, I'm going to go on to my committee report from the operations. We met last week to discuss two items, the agenda and putting some changes in with the agenda and the policy manual. In terms of the ordinance, the committee is recommending that we adopt, that it be adopted on July 19th with some minor amendments that clarify which items on the agenda will include the background and the objective of the ordinance. And that will come through in a statement. So it'll be a lot easier for the public to understand what's going on and what is the purpose of what we are discussing at our meetings, and that would be at the 6 o'clock meeting most times. For the policy manual, the committee is recommending changes that include a new section outlining the requirements for the agenda and some amendments to the travel policy. We also discussed the meetings and the events calendar, but concluded more research is needed, and our city clerk is looking into that and working with other staff to make that crystal clear and concise and open and transparent to the public. Next quarter, should be sometime late third quarter, we're going to take a general look at the procedures for council meetings just to make certain that we are above board on everything, which I think we are. So I'm excited to go down that route. Number 3, we have council remarks. Does anyone have any remarks today? Seeing none. We will go on to our presentations, and we have one presentation today. Butch, you're up. We're talking about building fees.
Yes. Good afternoon, Council. Butch Warrington, Chief Building Official for the city. Yes, I got to do a little cleanup and little things adjusted, but I knew there was going to be a chance that there's some new council members here, so I really wanted to kind of go over what we do up there. And the biggest thing we do is educate. We educate homeowners, we educate the builders out there one way or the other. They're constantly calling with questions, and we answer them to the best of our ability. You know, our team issues anything from a small deck on front of a house to hospitals, and we've been looking at a lot of them lately. Sanford's putting up a 7-story building over, I think it's 7, might be 6, over on the ortho clinic, MB1. So, and then we did do a 2.9 million square foot Amazon building here in last, and they do take a little time. So we do a lot, but we do a plan review, code analysis for them. We look into the accessibility, plumbing, electrical, mechanical, building, and we keep going from there. Now for the meat and potatoes of what I'm here for. Mep Fee Revision. About this time last year, I was in here and we changed the way we did the Mep fees. Used to be, we counted fixtures. Well, now it's based on the cost of the project. I made a mistake. I caught it, and I'm here to straighten it out. Now, the best part was we found our mistake before the first of the year when this was implemented. So we haven't been charging it as per ordinance. We've been charging it the way it was supposed to be. My intent was to come back the first part of the year when we adopted the new plumbing code. However, I couldn't because the state didn't adopt the newest plumbing code, and I have to follow them. So then I decided to wait until I brought this together and got it ready. So the MEP contractors are being billed right now the way they're supposed to be, the way it was intended, the way I presented it. Don't know what I did wrong, but I made a mistake. Now, the real reason, another reason I'm here is I want to change the minimum fees. I want to raise it from $20 to $40. On the commercial fee, everything else is going to stay the same. When you get to a high dollar value project, it's not going to change. I just want to change the minimum fees. So when it comes to a commercial end, it used to be up to $700 was a $20 fee. Well, now it's going to be up to $2,000 for that $40 fee. Everything beyond that is all going to stay the same. Don't feel we need to change that. So I don't plan on that. On the residential side, it's the same thing. Before it was up to $1,100 for a $20 fee. Now it's going to be up to $4,000 for a $40 fee. The rest of the charts are all going to stay the same. Not going to change them at all. Here is a snippet of what we give to the contractors when they come in. If they ask about fees. And this kind of shows how we made it the $40 minimum on there. We don't have any of the increments before that. Why should we raise the fees? Always hear this. When we did the MEP fees, our minimum was $40 at that point. So I want to be consistent with the building fee. I couldn't raise it back then because I wasn't prepared for that. It wasn't fair to take it to the council without meeting with the people that I meet with. The home builders, the contractors. We hadn't discussed it, so I didn't feel comfortable bringing it, so now I have. A $40 fee corresponds to roughly a half-hour inspection, and that's typically what we get for by the time you travel for one place to another. It's about 20 minutes to a half hour, depending on the situation. Of course, we have inspections that are longer than that too, but that's general. The last time this fee was increased, it was increased from $15 to $20, and that was back in 1998. So it's been a few years. And the key is I wanted to make the remainder of the scales all the same. I didn't want to raise them because I wanted to keep it the same. I would like to increase some of the other inspections. Right now, we have a reinspection fee. That's $70. Now, they don't get billed a reinspection fee if they have corrections and we just go out. That's part of doing business. The reinspection fee is when Jimmy, and he calls us in, says all the corrections are done, come out and take a look at them. Jimmy didn't do the corrections. He wasted our time. At that point in time, we can have the ability to give him that fee. We're also raising the minimum fees for shingling, windows, anything small like that, resides from $20 to $40 because there's still an inspection required for them. Bond claims I'm raising from $150 to $250 just for administrative fees. Shouldn't be too bad. Continuing education requirements. This last time we had, within the last year, we did license renewals for the building. The contractors are required to attend 1 hour of continuing education in a 3-year period. I had a contractor that came up to me and says, I don't have to do that in that time frame. He was south, wherever the case, but he had 3 years to do it. He just didn't do it. Reading through our ordinances, I could understand where he was coming from. It didn't specifically say. So this is a little cleanup that tells us that hour of education needs to be done in that 3-year period of license renewal. Before I come to you guys, I met with the home builders. I met with the Buildings Code Committee. I had absolutely no questions. The presentation I'm giving today was longer than the presentation they had for questions for me. They had no questions, no qualms about it at all. After I'm done, they take it to their building board of directors for the HBA, and talking with Mr. Anowski, he said there was absolutely no questions there either. So then I reached out to the commercial contractors, some of the bigger ones around here. And there again, I took some questions like on the reinspection fees, but when it came to the raising of the prices, nobody had any qualms about it whatsoever. The intent is to raise the fees on January 1 of 2023. People have bid jobs already. I don't think it's fair that I throw it at them right away. I want to wait, and I'll send that information out to them to make sure that they include this in their bid. So I want to do that in January 1 of 2023. The MEP cleanup fees and the continuing education, as soon as we get it approved, I would like to implement that just so it's in there. Now I want to talk a little bit about my staff. What we have. We have 5 building inspectors. We have 4 mechanical inspectors, 6 electrical inspectors, 4 plumbing inspectors. We got 5 plans examiners. One of them does residential only. The other 4 can do either residential or commercial, but their main job is commercial. We have 6 permit techs that are full-time, plus we have a part-time position up in the front greeting everybody. And they take care of a lot. And if you have any questions about any of this, please don't hesitate to ask me. Last year, in 2021, we did almost 60,000 inspections. That's a bunch. And I can tell you right now, we are ahead of that pace this year. The permit techs answered the phones a little over 56,000 times. That's to take questions, to request an inspection, request a permit, anything. So we issued 7,200 permits last year. We're slightly above that pace right now. And our licensing, one of the permit techs does mainly licensing. She has 1,437 business licenses that she watches out for, 3,626 professional license. And a professional license would be like the electricians. They have apprentices and journeymen. Same way with plumbing. So that's why there's so many more of those. Last year, we did $1.1 billion worth of work that we issued. We are slightly above that pace right now. Right now, as of this morning, we're like at slightly under 850 million. We're busy. That's all there is to it. And with that, I'll take any of your questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Go ahead.
Thank you, meeting chair. Thank you for the presentation. A couple of questions. First on the cost.
Mm-hmm.
When we're looking at those lower permit fees, how much of those are just Rich McCorris do-it-yourself showing up and not hiring a contractor? So I appreciate that you've gotten feedback from the home builders and from the general contractors. How much is the general public coming in?
They do come in a fair amount because a lot of them do want to do their own shingling. Lower levels is a big thing. And right now, if they come in and tell us it's a $5,000 lower level, which is very common, it's $50.50 for that part of the permit. Plus, if they have any electrical, plumbing, and mechanical, that part's going to stay the same. But yeah, we do get a fair amount of them. I would guess windows, siding, and shingles are the majority of them. They think they can do that work themselves, and they can. So I don't keep track of how many homeowners permits we issue, but there's a fair amount.
And then I guess my other question on the fee piece, and then I got one other general question. Do you have any comparison to other cities similar, our size, in regarding to their fee structure when it comes to these type of issues?
I can tell you, back in 2014, when I was behind the counter issuing shingle permits, because that was the year we issued like 14,000 extra permits of shingles, the contractors from out of town said, "Is that all?" So evidently I didn't go around and call around this time because I used our data to what we needed, but evidently we are a little cheaper.
Thank you. Then
Go ahead.
one more, kind of unrelated, but to your overall presentation. Can you kind of provide us, from your opinion, where is the biggest pinch point in your office in regards to the turnover time of the point when a developer brings plan to the point that the shovel hits the dirt? I know at different times we've got different perspectives and opinions in the community on the timing of this. Just would like to hear your perspective on where that biggest pinch point is.
Well, the pinch point a couple years ago, before we hired our residential contractor, was, or residential plans examiner, that was a pinch point because we always put a priority on getting residential permits out. So it took them away from the commercial end. Now, the pinch point, we're sitting pretty good, really. We were approved for an extra plans examiner last year. And last year at this time, I would say we were probably 6 to 8 weeks from the time somebody submitted a plan to the time we got to look at it, let alone issue it. We're closer to 3 to 4 weeks this year. It really made a difference. That's probably recognizing that and getting it down. That was one of our pinch points. When it comes to people putting in stands, if they have good plans, it doesn't take long. Where we run into problems is the people that don't bring in complete plans, and we have to try to guess, and we have to call them constantly, and they don't tell us the whole story. That's the toughest part.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Counselor Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question for you for my own knowledge. So do you see consistency amongst the inspectors, or do you find that there's some variation? Someone had mentioned to me, it seems like one inspector comes and then another one comes to check on those changes, and there are additional changes that they have to make. Time is money for these builders, so just curious.
Consistency amongst inspectors. Something we work on constantly. I want it to be called the same over on the east side of town as it is on the west side of town and in the center. I've heard of it before. I ask people, give me specifics. I can't just say, well, they're not consistent. Okay, give me a specific. I had one person said, okay, on the east side of town, I had to put a ladder in the window well. On the west side, I didn't. Okay, let's look up the two permits. The one on the east side had a lower level that was finished. It had a bedroom. It was required. The one on the west side didn't have a lower level finish, and it had a walkout basement. He didn't need that egress window. So we try to look at it, but I need the specifics. If I know a specifics, we will address it, because that's one of the things we stress, is being consistent. And it's really helped a lot. In the last couple years, since COVID, we got all new iPhones for them. They're on their iPhones doing FaceTime constantly, because what's this? Can you see it? And they can talk amongst each other so much better than they used to be when they were in the field, you know, because maybe Bobby saw this before and this is the way he called it. Well, then he can relay that on really easy because he's seen it before. Whereas before, yes, they met in the morning, but you didn't have that actual picture.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? I just have a few, and congratulations. Wow, that's impressive with that few of people you get that much, that many inspections done. That's quite outstanding. And the way that you've utilized technology to move forward as well. Because just think if we didn't have those technology, you know, initiatives that you and Director Eckhoff and your team have put in place, you know, these fees would be a lot bigger than they are today. So you're slowing the rate at which we need to increase the fees. So I commend you for that. Now, one of the questions that I do have, kind of just on the reinspection fee, and I trust you and I trust Director Eckhoff, but if there's someone in your seat at some point that I don't trust, how do I know that this isn't being utilized in a, you know, not a pay-to-play way, but in a way that is vindictive by an individual in your office, or you don't like a contract? How do I know that that fee is being charged the way you say it is?
Because when they do their inspections, all the corrections are wrote down. So they can tell it, and an email goes out to those inspectors or the contractors that says, this is what you're missing, what the correction is. So they get an email within a minute or two after the inspection is done. So we can look it up and say, okay, he didn't have it done, or he did.
Right. And to Councilor McCurris's comment, like me as a homeowner, let's say I do my electrical in my basement and I think I have the proper fix done, and I get it, I'm a homeowner, or I forget some deal shingling, right? Is that going to be a reinspection fee at that point for wasting time, or no?
No.
Okay.
Homeowners are given a lot more lenience than what a contractor is, because a contractor should know better.
Right. And then maybe one other question that I had this past year with the new system being put in place. So like a company that would put in water heaters, let's say, and they put in hundreds of water heaters maybe a month. The comment that was made to me was, you know, we have to pay that fee up front, and the city doesn't want to keep any credit cards on file, so it has to be taken care of in a very specific ways. Is that just for security reasons that we wouldn't do that? And is there a better way, like one of those companies could, is there a way to refine that? Maybe it's just a thought-provoking thing for you to look into, but is there a way to have those common users, give them an option?
We talked about that when we first implemented this, and finance was not comfortable keeping anything on record. One thing we are trying to do is, instead of having credit card, they can use ACH. And some of them have asked that. And I want to say, the last time I talked to them, we're within a month or two of getting that implemented. But yes, it is different. It does take a little change in the way they do it, because if they know when they're going out, their office people, they can apply for that permit immediately, because they've got 3-4 hours there while they're changing it, that everything can be taken care of. So it is a change in practice. Yeah. But yes, we can relook at that.
Yeah, just as you always do, you continually come with new ideas, and we appreciate that. And then also, as we continue to explode here in Sioux Falls, if at any point you guys need additional resources to accomplish what we need, A, housing, B, commercial enterprises, so we can keep this thing moving along, you make sure to come to us midstream, right? So that's what I'd leave it at, and if no one else has any questions, we'll move along. So, thank you, Butch.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, so we've come to the public comment time for our guests in the audience. We give everyone 5 minutes to come and talk about something that was discussed today. So if you guys want to come up and talk about anything or ask any questions, it's really not an open dialogue, but for the interns, I'd welcome your questions. Otherwise, we'll move on. Is there any public comment? All right, we're adjourned.